Hi, my name is Shehzad Yunus, and I'm an award-winning advertising creative director who's lived and worked in Dubai for the last 30 years, 25 of which were spent with global networks. Um, I now run a revolutionary startup called Humanize, and it's my passion project, and it's almost like a rebirth of sorts. And Humanize is going to revolutionize the way we tell stories using technology, using hyper-realistic characters and photorealistic immersive environments. And these are super exciting times, and I am very happy to be on this incredible show. I'm proud to be one of the 100 voices, and it's great to be here.
Shehzad, thank you very much indeed. We have Shehzad Yunus, a dear friend of mine for over 25 years, and we have seen a lot of things happening, a lot of things growing and developing and together. And he has been just one of those amazing creative characters who's always been ahead of the curve. He could see just ahead of the mountain and across corners. And that has been his creative resource. As an artist, as a creator, some of the work that I have seen from him is outstanding. But that's not his whole story. I think he always wants to be a larger-than-life personality to fundamentally change the game, tell a story, and keep telling stories in different ways. And that's what great creatives do, is keep finding new ways to tell great stories. And that is what he is doing today. One of the great superpowers of future leadership is going to be, and is actually, and has always been, storytelling. In addition to the power of questioning and listening, storytelling has been one of the absolute critical elements that help to define businesses, opportunities, etc. Some of the greatest storytellers today, whether it's Bezos or Elon Musk and so on, can take a business up $10, $100 billion and bring it down $100 billion literally in one day. And that's only through messaging and storytelling. Within that, somebody like Shehzad comes in with another aspect, and he's always been a great creative. But how do you take that and then have this fusion with technology, bring humanity into technology, bring a sense of some of the elements of empathy and responses and stuff like that within technology, so that it gives us an experience that is lifelike, but without taking away our humanity. And I will challenge him on that, because I still rather have my imperfections as a human being than a perfect avatar out there. But that's part of future storytelling. Welcome. Good to see you, Shehzad.
Likewise, Tariq.
I wanted to give this sort of little intro on storytelling, because throughout the book, throughout all of the work that I'm doing, and there is this red line, there's this thread through, and that is on storytelling. And people don't see it that way. A lot of people think as an article or a book and whatever, and they don't see it as stories. We have 100 stories here. Each one of them is unique. It's different. People have come from nowhere and have got to the top of the world. People have become billionaires from rags and richer stories. Today, let's just talk about your side of the business, which is the creative side, how that is evolving and how that's changing. Let's go back to little Shehzad. What was little Shehzad doing? Was he going around with a pen and paper or a little color box and painting the walls? Was he being naughty? Where did that creative energy ignite from?
Well, I was always creative since I was a little kid, but I was more of an artist. I was inspired by my uncles who were in advertising, and my uncle was a very famous illustrator. So I always wanted to be an artist and not a writer or a storyteller. And I used to draw and paint, which is why when my family found out that I'm a copywriter at an agency, they were like, when did that happen? You know, that he was an artist. He used to sketch, paint, and draw. How did he start writing? So it started very early. And my advertising career is like a fairy tale. We were in Ahmedabad, and I keep using this line, which helps me even today. If necessity is the mother of invention, then adversity is its father. And some of the best things that have happened to me happened because of adversity. So we lived in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, and it used to be a riot-torn city. And in the 80s, 84, we went through a spate of violence, and schools were closed for almost a year. We didn't go to school, and we sat at home. And my 9-year-old brother just threw something at me. He's like, "Okay, let's play advertising. Advertising. You know, I'm a client. I have a TV called Bosco, and you're going to do a campaign for it." And I'm like, "Bosco? I mean, that's a horrible name." He's like, "I'm the client. You create something." So I sat down, and because I could paint and draw, and this was before computers, this is before typography and typesetting, I had to literally paint the headline. So I created this ad, and I literally painted the headline, I painted the logo, and I quite liked it. And then I did a few more. And then there was a curfew break, and at that said, let's go, buy groceries. And when we went out, we stopped by this advertising agency where one of my father's friends used to work. He was a Gujarati copywriter, and he's like, I heard there was some trouble in his area. Let's go check on him. And we went inside, and I had brought my work with me because I wanted to Xerox it and send it to my uncles in Dubai. So I was clutching this envelope, and Adil uncle saw it. He's like, "What's that?" I said, "No, nothing. It's nothing." He's like, "No, show it to me." He took it. He ripped open the envelope. He saw 6 or 7 scam fictitious ads that I had done. He's like, "I'll just be back." He went inside to the creative director, and 10 minutes later he said, "She wants to see you." And I'm like, "Oh my God." I went inside. She said, "You write really well, you're witty, you're funny, and you have the spark. We have a board meeting in a few days, and I want you to come and do some more." So I came back, and I thought, okay, I have more time. I did perfume, cigarettes, loads of stuff. And then I went into this boardroom, and there was a client sitting there, the chairman, and all the board directors, and my work was passed around. And they were all smiling and laughing, and I'm like, "Oh God, are they making fun of it?" And then it reached the chairman. He looked at it, and he just looked up and he said, "So when can you start?" And I'm this 15-year-old. I'm in school, and he said, "When can you start?" So I said, "I can start tomorrow." No, Monday. And because I was 15, I was not supposed to work. So I used to enter this amazing big advertising agency from the back entrance, and where the gardener and the driver used to have their cards. I used to punch my card, walk in, and I started working in this agency. And of course, I thought, "Oh my God, I'm going to get some funny and amazing work to do, and I'll be famous." And I was given these dusty dossiers and folders of Gujarat Industrial Development Corporation and Gujarat Pollution Control Board and Industrial Extension Bureau. I'm like, "Oh my God, is this what I signed up for?" So I went through it, and I got my first opportunity at the age of 15 when they came to me and they said, "There's this amazing high-end pastry shop, on top of the, at the revolving restaurant. It's premium, and we're going to do a teaser for it." I'm like, "Yeah, we're going to do a teaser for it." And then I came out and I said, what is a teaser? They're like, "You tease people." So I created a teaser campaign. The launch was a huge success, and the client wanted to meet the writer, and they all started laughing. "What do we do? Do we take this kid?" "Yeah, sure. Let's humor the client. Let's entertain the client." So they took me to the client, and he was shocked, and I was like a novelty. It was like a circus, and everyone came out and like, "Oh my God, this little boy wrote this campaign." And that's how I got into advertising. Then I freelanced for a bit. At a very young age, I started dealing with very miserly kind of Gujarati businessmen, and I got money out of them, made lots of money, and this is how I got into advertising. I wanted to be an architect and get into School of Architecture, but destiny had its own plans, and I landed in advertising.
And you did very well. And I remember the good old days when we were at BBDO. And one of the things I distinctly remember, and there are things that you just remember about people and their work. Yours is very clean, very simple, very meaningful, very subtle, very Apple. I would almost say, and for people to visualize it. In other words, a whole page and a little message or something. Where did that inspiration come from?
I think it came from the way I looked at things. When I got a brief, I would look at it as a problem, and I would look for a creative solution. And my work was always based on consumer insights, because I used to keep telling my teams, if you want to be abstract, if you want to be wild and crazy, and if you want to do it for yourself, go become an abstract artist or a sculptor or do something like that. You're in the business of communication. I know it's important to create groundbreaking creative work and win awards, but there is a way of doing it. So my work was usually based on heartfelt, deep insights and how I communicated those insights in the simplest way, but made it memorable and made it stand out, and it ended up winning awards. Is what creativity was all about to me. There was a time later at a later stage where everyone was gunning, going after awards, and people used to come to me and say, that agency, they spent 3 million dirhams on their awards budget, and they got the best illustrator and the best CGI artist and this and that. And I would tell them, there are ways of just doing a very simple ad with just one word in the center, and it would win as many awards as the work that has been done by CGI specialists and the best illustrators and best photographers. And I'm lucky that I was proven right, because some of our work actually won awards for being very simple.
Yeah, I mean, you literally won. I mean, can you just list out some of the awards that you have won, just for our reference?
I won about 70 awards: Cannes, One Show, Clio, Epica, DNAD, Dubai Links, Mina Crystals. Almost most of them. Yeah, most of them. Most of the awards.
Okay. Fast forward to today, because I think by now people are extremely curious as what is this lady doing behind us. Do you want to tell us about this lady?
Yeah. So since I was a kid, I was very curious. I mean, I'm a very restless soul. I can't sit at one place, so it will be a challenge to sit here and talk to you for an hour or so. I'm very restless. So when I was in advertising, I reached a point where I thought to myself, I won these awards, I've done this, been there, done that, bought the T-shirt. What more can I do? And this curiosity, started getting to me. So what I just said, adversity is the father of invention. So 2020, the whole world had come to a standstill. There was lockdown, and I was sitting at home. We couldn't go out. There was curfew, and I used to call my friends, and ask them for freelance work. And they said, "Dude, we don't have any work because we're getting rid of people, and we can't give out work. We have to control our budgets and all this." I'm like, "Oh my God!" And they said, "Oh, we are even doing the product, shots inside. So we can't even go on expensive shoots." So I thought to myself, what if I created this library of hyper-realistic humans who had flaws, who had freckles, and they wore them like a badge, and I could create environments. Why would people want to go to Venice for a photo shoot? Why would people want to spend a fortune creating this sci-fi environment, set, when everything can be done in one place? So I had already created 50 characters at that point, and if I clearly remember, I had shared them with you 3 years ago.
I remember, yeah.
Long before any of these avatars were out, long before AI was born, I could see how this thing could go further. And I just wanted agencies to find a new way of telling stories. Throughout my career, Tariq, I was considered way ahead of my time, which is not a good thing. It hurt me a lot. It was very painful, because I used to go to my bosses and to clients with ideas that they rejected, and they said, no, this is too risky. No, this is too scary. No, we're not ready for this now.
I can totally resonate with that, because that's exactly what used to happen to me. I made a lot of mistakes because I was 2-3 years ahead of the game, and you end up investing. For me, in my head, it's completely bloody obvious.
Exactly.
But for the rest of the world, they haven't caught up yet. 3 years later, those campaigns, those products are coming up. I dare say that innovation was there with you also.
And then 5 years later, I mean, I have 10 examples of stuff that I showed that ends up winning a Cannes or a One Show or a DNAD 5 years later. In fact, some of my work is on our website. It has happened to me, and I've got solid examples. Mm-hmm. Like there are 5 or 6 instances where I had an idea, and then 5 years later I see it in a Cannes Lion book or a One Show or a DNAD, and I'm like, and I used to shove it in people's face and say, "See, this could have been us if you had believed in it."
Yeah.
So this kept happening all the time, and it was quite painful.
Yeah. So this again, is this a real person? Is it a created person? What's the project and why we got it here?
Okay,
Yeah.
so she is a figment of my imagination. I mean, people might find her, looking similar to someone they know, and that's purely coincidental. But I created her from my imagination, and it's not AI, it's not Mid-Journey. I have respect for AI and Mid-Journey, but anyone could just type a prompt, and you would get something like this. This is a proper character. I'll show you that you can see it from any side. I can change her hair. She can emote. She can act. She can talk. The thing with video and AI at this point, and many people will agree with me, it hasn't evolved so much. I mean, if you use Runway ML or any of these AI-driven, film generative kind of stuff, it looks like old morphing. It doesn't look consistent. So I don't think video creating videos using AI is there yet, and that's why my characters, my digital humans, can talk, and they can emote. We started using this new technology that's just come out recently. It's groundbreaking. It's called Meta Souls. Then there is Unreal Engine and Meta Human Animator, and all of these put together can create chatbots that will emote. The biggest fear people have with AI and robots is they're not human, they can't feel, they don't have emotions. But that question has been answered recently, and MetaSouls has 64 trillion different emotions that can be embedded into your AI character or your avatar. So this is a game changer, and there will be no difference at all left between a 3D generated, CGI generated digital character and a human. So I'm super excited.
So if you were to take all the details as my avatar, which you have very kindly agreed to do, what's going to be my experience and what can I expect?
So basically what we will do is, the first part is always the physical part. So we need to scan your face and create your avatar and make it look absolutely like you. Secondly, if you just create a 3D character, okay, a still character will look exactly like you, but when you make him talk, you have a certain way of smiling. Your nose, your lines. When you smile, that's distinctively you. That a motion capture or automated animation cannot do justice to it. So for that, we use Live Link on an iPhone, which is connected to your avatar in real time. So everything you do, every little nuance, every little expression of yours is instantly transferred in real time to your character. Of course, there is. I mean, we can generate your voice using AI, and it will sound exactly like you. But I think the challenge is to make your character speak like you, sound like you, look like you, and be you. It's the feeling. It can't just be okay, so there is this guy who looks like Tariq and he's talking. No, that doesn't do the trick. People should feel, they should be shocked to see this. Oh my God, are you sure this is not generated, CGI and AI, and is it really him? So that is what we need to do.
What would be the purpose of something like this? How would I benefit from it? What would I use it for? So what are your thoughts on that? I have some ideas, but what are your thoughts?
How you would benefit? Let me just talk about generally what this could change. So if a real influencer thinks that these virtual influencers are going to come and put them out of business, no, actually it's good for their business, because they have a limited shelf life. If we create a digital likeness of them which looks exactly like them, sounds exactly like them, then they live forever. So even after 15 years, her brand is alive. She's very much there, and fame is addictive. When we become famous, the biggest fear we have is, what happens when I'm gone, when I'm not as good looking, or when I'm not as young and as able to do this? It'll all be gone. But you know what? No, it won't. The other aspect is that with your virtual influencer, there are things you can now do that you wouldn't have done, the real you wouldn't have done, like ride a fast bike or a car, get on top of Burj Khalifa, and do things that you never thought you could do.
But I'm not doing it. So how?
No, it's the avatar that's doing it. So
Correct.
there are amazing technologies that we're using. Of course, like I said, motion capture and facial motion capture, and face swapping, and using AI. All of this potent mixture can make your likeness do things that you never did before.
Okay. How can we cross-fertilize this with, let's say, holograms?
That technology already exists.
That's what I'm saying. It's been there for a while, but it's never really caught on.
Exactly.
And why hasn't it caught on? And would this give it a layer or a sense of reality that starts making sense? When I first saw hologram, I said, "Oh my God, that's the end of travel for conferences, and that's all the big speakers can just send their hologram to this place. Now, can we just send our avatar to speak? I have a board meeting in Kazakhstan in a month's time. Can I just send my avatar because it's too complicated to go there?" As an example, is that how we can utilize it?
Yes, absolutely. See, the use cases that we have, and they're jaw-droppingly amazing, and we've seen concerts, of performers and singers who are no more. Then there's this incredible video I came across where Sheikh Zayed, His Highness Sheikh Zayed, has been brought back to life, and it's so powerful.
This is
so
COP28, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And it's absolutely mind-blowing. But they have been used more as a wow factor and to impress people at an event, and not made mainstream. But the technology is very simple. I think the other reason is because of these special projects. Companies that create hyper-realistic work are commissioned and paid a good, huge amount of money to create, and it's made possible. But if we made avatars of everyone, and like you just said, if we made an avatar of you could be going to these places and presenting. Yeah, it is possible. The technology exists, and you can have them at weddings. You can bring back people. Like I was in talks with a very renowned international award outfit. I will not name them now. And I gave them this idea of, imagine if we brought back Bill Bernbach as a speaker now, and he speaks from his experience, and he analyzes the work that we're doing, and he gives his response and his opinion on it. It's a crowd puller, and I would love to see Bill Bernbach again. I would love to see David Ogilvy again. So it is possible.
So I'm sorry I'm probing more and more on this one, because I think it's really important for all of us to understand, including myself, is what problem are we solving here? I know it's very technically nice and sexy, and there are a lot of projects that happen which look great and get excited, but they're not solving a real problem or delivering a genuine benefit, and therefore they come as a fad and then they disappear.
Okay, one of the big things is there have been a lot of reports about people and brands, losing faith in real influencers. There have been lots of incidents where the influencer and their own personal their own personal life, or their preferences, or the statements they made affected the brand. So this problem exists. Now with virtual influencers, the advantage that you have is we could create it for your brand, which means it is created on the brand essence and the brand values that you provide us, that a client provides us. So these are your spokesman, your spokesperson, and they behave in exactly the way the brand wants them to behave. I'm not saying that it's like dictatorship, but they are built on brand values. I'll just give an example. What's happening in Palestine, between Palestine and Israel, there are influencers who decided not to speak about it. I will not name them, but they decided not to speak about it, and they got flack for it. I mean, people are commenting like 300 comments on it, like, you don't care for this, and you're a celebrity. You should come and voice your opinion and influence people. And poor thing, she came under fire. Then there are people who supported it. They have been attacked by everyone. Then there are people who supported the other side, and they got flack for it, and people try to bring them down. So this is a dilemma that influencers face. So if you speak for an issue, if you support an issue, chances are someone might not like it and it might affect your brand. But the thing with virtual influencers is they are very clean, they're very transparent, and they do not go out and support, stuff that could create controversy. So it is an advantage of sorts.
I mean, if it's my avatar, looks exactly like me, sounds like me, and whatever voice that projects, as far as people are concerned, in their own way, that's how they will see it. It's me. No, psychologically.
Yeah, okay, I was talking about virtual influencers who do
Don't
not
exist. I see.
Yeah, so she could be a very kind person, she could be a very athletic person, she could be a very adventurous person, or a nerd, or a geek, or into music, or whatever.
Yeah.
She has her own personality. Obviously, if it's a living human being, the idea is to capture the essence of their personality,
Right.
and the influencer would stand for whatever the real person stands for. No, it's different. I was talking about a CGI generated character based on a brand's values or requirements.
Understood. So, taking this conversation further, let's say at the moment we can watch it on a screen, we can see it on a phone, so it's flat.
Yeah.
It's two-dimensional. When does it become three-dimensional? Number one. When does it get translated into a body? That a robot, a movement. I mean, in Japan, for example, these robotic dolls are becoming so beautiful and so perfect, and that women are actually complaining that husbands are not coming home because the dolls are far too pretty, and they work at any speed you want. So why would you want to go home? These dolls have also been created and been delivered in places like Vegas, where you can have places of professional places of sex and so on, which can provide these dolls, and it's basically you could go in, and guess what? The other workers were complaining. But I'm going, and the third place, which is a very interesting one, they've tried and used this in prisons, where they're giving it to people who have sexual problems and things like that. So, okay, fine, you can take all your problems out on a doll. Now, I know it's an extreme situation that I'm giving you here, but what I'm saying is that will there be a person, me, in 2, 3, 4 years' time, now that you've got my look and my avatar and my feel, and then you can take my body and you can put all of that in place. And the movement that is now happening is becoming more and more realistic. The motion graphics and stuff like that are extremely realistic. So could a Jeff Bezos be walking into 100 offices on a weekly basis to deliver his keynote speech, almost in person? So I'm thinking like that could this be that global leaders can now present differently? Could it be that the way our leaders are communicating at the moment, who reads an email? Maybe you'll check our WhatsApp, but if your CEO is happens to turn up and is looking real and the whole thing, then perhaps something will be different. I'm just trying to find a way that it becomes very relatable to life, to business, through society.
If the dolls are working fine, and if they have been created,
Yes,
I think these avatars can easily be turned into these dolls, but it's just a very scary thought. And I feel that the role that they're playing right now, of being virtual avatars as holograms, and having their own digital life, is far more appealing to me than the fear of
but
what would happen if they become live and they start walking around and start.
So Shehzad, I'm fascinated by the technology, the creativity of all of this, but what I'd like to find is the fusion between creativity and ethics, how we build trust into this. That's another key component. how we build elements of society, and we address some of the difficult issues at this moment in time. And finally, looking at medical science, because the moment you start taking this kind of creative components and apply it through into genetics, into other forms of human design, and cloning, and all of those kinds of things, then it takes new dimensions, which is really what Voices of the Future is about, is like, what are the unintended consequences? What are the crazy things that can happen that we should be looking out for? So from this early stage of you developing and creating this thing, what are some of the dilemmas, some of the thoughts that you've had?
Well, there were instances where we were approached by people to turn our characters into porn stars, and they looked at it and they're like, we keep seeing faces, can you show us the entire body? And I thought maybe they want to see how the model looks, and they're like, oh my god, can we turn it into a porn star? We said no. Then we got approached by people who brought us pictures of real people, and they said, she's our client and we want you to turn her into an avatar. And we thought, okay, fine. And then it started getting deeper and darker, and we drew a line and we said no. So I think the way to do this, the ethical way to do this, is for any living person, we do not create, or even for famous people who are no more, we do not create any characters until we get a sign off from people who have rights to their likeness, or from people who are alive, unless and until they approve it. Because the character that we create is their property. If I created a character of a famous influencer or a celebrity, I'm not going to do it myself. I'm not going to do it because I feel like doing it. I will go and talk to them and say, here's what we can do for you. And the question they normally ask is, who has control over this character? So it's very simple. The IP belongs to the character. The shape and form in which the character is used is dictated by the owner of the IP. And we don't go around, using the character for any nefarious purposes. So it is very important to have that in place.
Sure. But you have that moral compass, you have that ethical base, and I know that in the past you've also had to make some hard decisions on alcohol and tobacco and stuff like that, and you've done it. But the vast majority of the people won't. And what are the guardrails there? What are the rules of engagement in this?
I think, a lot of people are terrified of AI because it's evolving so fast. I mean, if you take technology for electronics or mobile phones, a new feature would appear normally in a couple of years or 3 years or maybe a year. But here I've noticed that there have been groundbreaking changes and developments and evolution in AI within a matter of weeks. So it is very scary, and people are very scared of AI because of lack of guardrails, lack of ethical ways of monitoring AI. They are not in place. I think it is very important to have this a whole legal framework that monitors AI, that monitors technology, that sets rules for AI. And I think without all of that, it is a very dangerous place. I think.
Understood. So my likeness and my avatar, I own, I guess, the IP for that. What if it's something which is about 80% like me, and you've created it from nothing, and you've said, like this beautiful girl that you showed us earlier on, I wouldn't be surprised if I see a girl like that in Russia or in Hungary or places like that. I mean, she's a beautiful girl, but that's the kind of girl I have seen. So it wasn't a girl that, oh my God, she's completely different. So if you come at about 80% of my voice, so it's not mine, but it's pretty close. People could mistake it for my voice. But you created it from nothing. You created it from the beginning. I've seen and heard Morgan Freeman's voice in exactly the same way. And you had a 6-month strike in Hollywood based upon this, that people AI and technology companies are using all the content to train their AI based upon existing content without people's permission. So there's a lot of gray areas at the moment, and I get that. But what I'm saying is that this girl that beautiful girl that you produced, she can look like a little girl from from Budapest or from St. Petersburg or something like that. And maybe there is another girl out there looks a little bit like, and you'll say, hang on, no, I created it from nothing.
Yeah.
Are we getting into a gray zone where we need to be a little bit more careful before all of these things start becoming omnipresent? Or should we use it for only certain purposes, like narrow the purpose down, like only duplicate models because you want to reduce the amount of money we pay for expensive photo shoots. So instead of spending $100,000 on a photo shoot, you can do it for 10. Those type of things. So are those discussions happening, or is it still new?
It's a really good question, and one that puts me in a quandary. See, I've heard people say that there are 6 other Shehzads, 6 other people who look like me. So it could be a coincidence that someone looks exactly like my character, and it's purely coincidental. Plus, when we give her a voice, obviously it's going to be different. When we give her a personality, it's going to be different. The fact that she looks a lot like someone, I don't think would be a problem. If she looks exactly like someone, then we have a problem. And yeah, to be very honest with you, I don't have an answer to that. But it is a very, very, very good question, and one that needs an answer. And
sure.
we need to look into that.
All right. So, this thing is a question I've been asking for the last 4 or 5 years because I've been very close as a futurist on the ethical side. I was presenting in front of a few thousand people, and I put up Sophia. At that time, Sophia, the robot, the talking robot, was very, very popular. This is 2019, I think it was, maybe 2020. And I asked the whole audience, I said, okay, hands up, what gender is she? And somebody said female. I said, okay, all the people who believe that she is a female, and that this picture is a female, raise their hands. 90% of the room raised their hands, that it's a female. I said, it's not. It's a tin can with wires in it. What we are doing as human beings is humanizing her, creating a human face, and therefore we see it as and calling her Sophia. If we had called it, I don't know, M500, it wouldn't be. If you'd given it a male name, you'd probably say that. If you changed the features. So why should robots be given human look and feel, and let robots be robots and there to serve us, and let humans be humans? Yeah. Because I have another theory, is that anything and everything that can be digitized will be. Because it'll be 1,000,000 times faster, 1,000,000 times cheaper, and 1,000,000 times more efficient and cheaper to do. But anything and everything that cannot be digitized, love, compassion, harmonies, and imagination, creativity, heart, soul, spirit, all of those components will be 1,000,000 times more valuable.
Yeah.
So therefore, when somebody asks me, can AI replace human beings? And my answer is no. However, a human being using AI can replace a human being. So I would want to use this to enhance myself in some way, as opposed to replace myself. Let me finish. As opposed to replace myself in some way, and things like that. This is where I'm going with this. So in this scenario, Shehzad, it's very difficult for creative people like you and me, because we are doing things in good faith and we produce things, but we're giving and creating opportunities and almost weapons in the hands of the wrong people. What do we need to do to make sure that we have a beautiful future using your amazing creativity and opportunity, and then make sure that it's only used for good purposes?
I think we'll have to be very, very careful. I think the process of choosing who we work with, we need to be very diligent. We need to be very careful about who we're working for. And I've had some experience, with that. It's very easy to tell, after a few sessions, it's very easy to tell what the intentions of, people who are trying to hire you.
Yeah. Is this replicatable easily by other people?
If they get your a model from you, if they own the IP, they get the rigged model, they get the textures, they get all the realism as a file, and then they can go to any AI or technology expert or a company that specializes in deep fake and all of these new technologies, and they can do whatever the hell they want to do with it.
So I think there's a word that we have to be vigilant and cautious on this one, because I think there are opportunities of misuse and even further abuse of something which is
Absolutely.
Beautifully exciting, and then let's just use it for beautiful ways.
Absolutely.
Now, looking at another thing, which again, I've spoken about trust, we've spoken about ethics, we've spoken about humanity, we've spoken about creativity, we've spoken about all of these things. One of the things we need to demystify in our world, in our part of the world, which I encounter all the time, is the whole philosophy of failure. You wrote a beautiful article a few years ago on failure, and a very heartfelt article. I remember it. And can you share what instigated that?
Sure.
And the essence of it?
The article came at the darkest, in the darkest period of my life, and I was sitting and just licking my wounds and wallowing in self-pity, and I realized it's not taking me anywhere. The article was about how high one can go, and then have that almighty fall, and just it's like an endless pit. You keep falling into it, and that's what I felt. I felt like I had reached the peak. I won all the biggest awards. I was ranked number 2 in the world in 2011, and then suddenly I left my job and I fell down, and I kept falling down, and I realized that the more I hang on to success that I had, the more I spoke about, oh, I won this award, why is it happening to me? Oh, I was ranked number 2 in the world, why is it happening to me? I found the fault. I think the biggest mistake that I was making was I was clinging on to that success. And failure was my biggest teacher. So in the article, I gave failure such a beautiful face, such a warm personality. And I felt at that time that success is that friend, or those friends who you invite when you've just won an award, and they're sitting and they're drinking they're drinking at your place, and they're eating your food, and they're celebrating. And failure is that friend who stays with you when the other friends are gone, and he helps you clean up after them, and it stays with you, and it just looks in you in the eye and says, "Don't worry, this too shall pass. I am with you." So this entire experience taught me the biggest lesson. I had to forget who I was. I had to kill myself and be born again and wipe my slate clean. I mean, I forgot all the achievements I had acquired over a period of time. I'm like, no, this is nothing. I need to start all over again. And that comes to you when you learn from failure. And I have kept failure very close to my heart because it's a constant reminder. And that's how I decided to leave everything I was doing. And I found 3D digital art. I found I taught myself how to use 3D softwares at the age of 50, and it was such a beautiful experience. I had no pressure. I had no, I was starting all over again. So I was like this newbie who's going out and looking for work. I had no pressure. I wasn't carrying any baggage from the past. It was the most beautiful feeling. So I think my advice to people, and I give the same advice to my kids: don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid of mistakes.
Let's get together, both you and I, in a time machine, and we project ourselves into the future. And we are together on your 100th birthday, which is very likely to happen because the way longevity is now working, your 100th birthday is very likely to happen. So, on your 100th birthday, what are we celebrating? What has Shehzad done? What are we celebrating? Who's there? What's going on?
See, if I live to be 100, I want to see the good I've brought to this world. Because when I was in advertising, I mean, I love my profession and it was wonderful. But I always thought to myself, we're just peddling products, we're just selling products, and the world will forget us. And I'm living proof of that. You know, when I left advertising, it was hard to get back, and that's what the whole failure thing was all about. No one remembers you. No one remembers your last great ad. So, is this life worth living? No, it isn't. So, I want to be able to use my empathy, use my creativity and the technology to change lives and to create something that transforms the world. So 100 years from now, I would be happy that I've lived my life the way I wanted it, and I've created a difference. I've made it a difference. I know it sounds like a cliche.
No, it's not
Everyone
cliche.
says that I want to make a difference, but I truly want to
My
make
company
a
is
difference.
called MAD, M-A-D,
Yeah.
which is Make a Difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And towards the end of my career, I got more involved in public service advertising and creating ads for breast cancer awareness and inclusivity and all of that, and road safety, because I felt like I'm redeeming myself. I felt like I haven't sold my soul and I need to do this now with humanized, and the name humanize itself.
Love the name.
Yeah,
Love
it
the
is.
name.
It is about humanizing. It's about humanizing technology. It's about humanizing brands. It's about giving brands a humanized, approach. And it's funny and it's ironical that we're using virtual characters to talk about humanization. The influencers and the people we see on Instagram, sadly, the real ones, are using filters and that make their noses smaller and their lips bigger, and they're using airbrush filters, and they end up looking like plastic dolls. They end up looking like caricatures. So in a world where real people and real models are going down this route, my models have freckles and they have bags under their eyes and they have blemishes that they proudly wear like a badge. So we've already started the humanization process, and I see, as a dreamer, as a thinker, I know that in the future, this technology will create amazing opportunities for mental health, incredible opportunities for education. Imagine making Harvard or Cambridge or Oxford open to people who can't afford it, through the metaverse and through virtual reality, and making it affordable. Imagine creating these special capsules and these special programs for mental health that would affect people's lives. So in the long run, if I live to be 100, I would love to have thousands of such projects where my creativity, my compassion, and the technology has helped me make this world a better place. I think I would have looked myself in the mirror and said, I have lived. Now I can go.
That's quite amazing, because by the time you get to 100, the only things that would differentiate us from technology and everything else is our humanity. And the only thing there that is fundamentally going to differentiate us is our brain and our imagination.
Absolutely.
And our intelligence, our creativity, our heart, love. Those are the kinds of things that differentiate us. So I think if you can put energy into creating humanity within humans as an integral part of us becoming more human, rather than technology becoming more human, and we use technology to serve us, I think we'll be better served. Otherwise, we sort of potentially could lose our way. But Shehzad, it's been a real pleasure. I know it's been a meandering conversation, dreaming conversation, but that's who we are, and that's how we come together. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and I feel truly honored to be in the company of such amazing thinkers. In fact, I was having a complex. I'm like, I will be discovered finally after 35 years. People will know, I'm nothing, because there's such great luminaries in the 100 people that you've been talking to, and I've always been a huge fan of yours. Right from the day when I was a copywriter and I presented to you, and then I became an ECD and Chief Creative Officer, and again presented to you.
Yeah.
You were always there, right on top, and it's wonderful to sit with you and talk to you about subjects that are very close to our hearts.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much, Tariq.
Thank you again.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it. Pleasure.